Hey everyone, welcome to Encounter Autopsy, the series where we'll cut open real tabletop RPG battles and dissect exactly what happened. I've run a ton of games across all kinds of systems, fantasy dungeons, modern shootouts, sci-fi skirmishes, you name it, but one thing's constant: encounters can be chaotic, brilliant, disastrous, or all three at once. In this series, I'm pulling highlights from my actual sessions. We'll replay the fight blow by blow, using tools enabling you to see the map, the positions, and every move as it went down. And at the end, we'll examine the big decisions, break down what my players did, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and share lessons learned. Then I'll hit you with the big question: what would you have done differently? Drop your tactics in the comments, and we'll talk about the best ones in our Tuesday and Friday live streams. Today, we're kicking things off with a gritty firefight from my Twilight 2000 campaign, a desperate pier ambush against some ruthless gangers. If you love RPG tactics, tense social encounters, clever ploys, or just watching plans go sideways, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss these dissections. All right, so let's open this one up, and here's how the siege at the pier unfolded. Twilight 2000, 4th edition, by Free League. Twilight is a post-apocalyptic game set in an alternate past in, of course, the year 2000. It is set assuming a limited nuclear exchange World War III situation, and the setting of this particular campaign is in Sweden. It uses the Year Zero engine with a heavy emphasis on ranged combat, and includes some very well thought out hex crawl gameplay. So in this game and in this video, I will be highlighting the moves that the characters make. I will not be pointing out specific mechanics or dice rolls. I will only be highlighting the character actions. The situation on the ground is that the PCs came into the city of Karlsborg with refugees in a flotilla of boats of various civilian types. When they hit the dock, gangers from the town of Karlsborg met them at the pier, offering them so-called protection against other gangs, which the PCs at the time were heavily armed and declined, and the gangers went their own way. However, shortly after that, 3 of the PCs decided to go into town, meet their CIA contacts at the fortress, and stayed overnight. And during that time, 1 PC stayed with the refugees on the boats tied up at the pier. During the night, gangers returned and were held at bay by one of the PCs using heavy weaponry along with 3 other soldiers. Then the 3 PCs returned to the pier the next day to find it under siege. The players in this scenario are 4 PCs, being Thomas Highway, a major in the USMC. He is equipped with an MP4 submachine gun and an M9 pistol. You have William Brandt, a CIA agent, with an M40 sniper rifle and a SIG 9mm. Sven Johansson with a M249 squad automatic weapon and a pistol. He is former Swedish police and an ex-military before that. And rounding out the PCs is Manny Davalos, an enlisted mechanic in the U.S. Army. He is manning an M240 general purpose machine gun on a tripod with a backup M4 rifle. And he is commanding 3 of the refugees who are ex-Swedish soldiers. And then also to round it out, the 2 CIA contact allies, Sammy, a CIA operative, and Valeria, the CIA deputy chief in the area. Those 5 are in the Land Rover that is returning to the pier. And the Manny is at the pier on the boat holding the sieging gangers at bay. And that's how we start off the situation on the PC side. Then you have the Karlsborg gangers. And so you have two roughly different groups. You have the ones in the pier who showed up in a box truck, 8 strong, who have surrounded the pier entrance and have been keeping Manny and his team from leaving the pier. And then you have 2 trucks with the Ganger cavalry coming to reinforce them and force the situation at the pier. That consists of 2 pickups, each with 6 gangers inside. They are armed with various scavenged and poorly maintained weapons, including pistols, civilian rifles, shotguns, and a handful of military small arms. These are the port facilities and the pier. Here you see the pier with the refugee boat. Manny is here with his 3 soldiers under his command, and you see the gangers up on the pier behind cover of cars. Here you see the box truck that they came in on. Zooming out, you see that you have warehouses, rubble, and roads in the port area. Further down, you see that you see a large container for the port, along with 2 smaller fuel facilities and a fuel processing facility. Here you see the road coming in from the port entrance. Here is our intrepid band of adventurers in the Land Rover, shadowing and tailing the 2 trucks loaded with gangers. While following the convoy of gangers, Sven makes the decision to crawl out the back window of the Land Rover, climb up onto the roof rack, and deploy his M249 machine gun on top with his bipod. Inside the Land Rover, you have Sammy driving with Valeria in the passenger seat. You have William Brandt in the right rear, and you have Gunny Highway in the left rear. After following the gangers, the PCs in the Land Rover come around the corner and see that the 2 pickups have come to a stop. The gangers begin piling out. At this point, Sven makes a decision. He decides to engage the gangers and fire. He opens up with maximum firepower with his M249. Several of the gangers are hit, scatter for cover as they fail their morale test. Not wanting to get caught inside the vulnerable Land Rover, Thomas Highway and William Brandt pile out of the rear seat of the vehicle, with Thomas Highway moving to the left into some bushes and dropping prone for cover. Brandt runs to the back of the Land Rover and behind a ruined car. The gangers at this point make a run for cover behind their 2 vehicles or behind the small guard post to the left of the blue pickup. The gangers return fire, peppering the Land Rover with bullets and ricochets, shattering the windshield, but Sven is unperturbed, returning fire with his machine gun. At this point, the gangers overlooking the boats hear gunfire in the distance and decide to fall back towards their truck to find out what's going on. Manny and his fire team move off of the boat, up the pier, and they slowly climb the stairs, peeking over the edge of the pier, looking for gangers. They find that the gangers have fallen back to the box truck, looking the other way and not paying attention to the pier. At this point, William Brandt takes a position with his sniper rifle and fires at the driver in the right-hand pickup, killing the driver in 1 shot. The gangers, even though pinned down and thinned out by the machine gun fire, manage to return fire. This time their volley strikes home. Sammy is hit in the driver's seat of the Land Rover, killed instantly by the fire. Fearing for Valeria in the Land Rover and Sven on top, William Brandt moves behind the Land Rover into the driver's side. There he pulls Sammy out of the driver's seat onto the ground. William then enters the vehicle. In the meantime, Manny and his 3 soldiers have moved up onto the pier behind cover. He sets up his M240 machine gun, and they open fire on the unsuspecting gangers who are watching the unfolding chaos. Several of the gangers are dropped immediately. The rest run from behind the box truck. Sven fires one last volley at the gangers, trying to pin them down. He drops 2 of them. William Brandt, having taken over the driver's position, slams the Land Rover into reverse, backing around the corner. Sven hangs on tight as the Land Rover careens around the fuel structure. Thomas Highway makes a dash behind cover across the street. Finally, Brandt slams on the brakes while in cover behind the fuel container. Sven, still hanging on tight, readies himself for the following gangers. However, the gangers, beset on both sides by heavy machine gun fire, have decided they have had enough. Several load up into the blue pickup truck, the rest into the box truck. Still in cover behind the fuel container, Thomas Highway rejoins the rest of the crew at the Land Raider. Meanwhile, the pickup and box truck full of gangers hightails it out of the area. Having found the gangers fled the scene, Highway, Brandt, and Johansson move forward in the Land Rover up to where they meet with Manny and the rest of the soldiers. They find that they have secured the scene and the refugees are safe. So what were the key decision points at the pier? Well, looking back, there were several things that came to mind. First, that the team made the call to keep following the trucks. Was that wise? Should they have maybe done something different? It certainly put the team in more danger. Next, Sven decided to crawl out and deploy on the roof. That seemed like a good bet, and plus it put them in position to be able to immediately put fire on the gangers when they did come into sight. Then, Manny's brave advance onto the dock and engaging the gangers. Not knowing what lay ahead or if there was an ambush, Manny made a gamble, but it seemed to pay off as it put the gangers in between 2 opposing forces. And then lastly, after Sammy's death from the gangers' gunfire, Brandt made the decision to return to the Land Rover, take control over the vehicle, and back it away out of danger. Well, what would you have done? There are several things that come to mind here. Could you have deployed an advanced scout before driving up? Could you maybe have ordered your CIA allies to get out of the Land Rover with you, therefore preventing their casualty? Or could you have stayed in place to try and destroy the gangers in detail and prevent them from regrouping later? There are many options, and I would love to hear what you have to say in regards to the matter. Hit me up in the comments and let us know what your tactics would have been. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this first episode of Encounter Autopsy, and I hope that if you like it, you would subscribe and like the video. We'll see you next time.